We're brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. Never heard of those guys. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Tigers over the Orioles 4-2. Will Vest, first big league save after closer Gregory Soto, failed. Miguel Cabrera with his second home run of the year for Detroit. 4:10 the first pitch today at Comerica Park. It's Michael Pineda going for the Tigers right here on 97 the ticket. NBA playoffs, Celtics and Bucks go to a Game 7. Boston wins it 108-95. Warriors close out the Grizzlies in 6, 110-96. Stanley Cup, Rangers force a Game 7 with Pittsburgh 5-3. A Game 7 also coming for the Stars and Flames after a 4-2 Stars win. And Florida eliminates Washington 4-3 in overtime. Phil Mickelson, that guy, is withdrawn from next week's PGA Championship. He's a defending champ. He has not competed on the tour since his controversial statements about his support for the Saudi Arabian-sponsored tour. At the Ticket Update desk, I'm Jeff Lesson. For more, 97.1 The Ticket, Odyssey.com.
Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm your host, Harvey Freed. Alongside of me, Harry Glanz.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Back in the studio. It's good to see Jeff Lesson doing the update, my man.
Jeff's back. Everyone's back here, including Lisa Lawson. Good morning, Lisa Lawson, one of the top originators in Michigan.
Thank you, everybody. Good morning.
Licensed in many states. Thanks, Lisa.
Yes, many states. Beautiful, sunshiny morning.
I'm glad you brought in the sunshine. Sonny
sure
Harvin
did.
joins us from Keller Williams Homes over there on Northwestern Highway. She's all of Southeast Michigan. Good morning, Sonny.
Good morning.
So I'm such a big Sonny Harvin fan. I've never met Sonny in person, right? So Lisa tells me Sonny's coming on the show, and I've been on, we've been on Zoom with Sonny, and we've done things remotely. But I said, I got to come in the studio, and I've got to meet Sonny. And it's so wonderful meeting you, and it's always a great partnership with you. You're bright. You're energetic, knowledgeable, you work hard, all the things that we look for in somebody, and you're a tremendous guest to share all your knowledge with the people listening right now, and it's a pleasure to meet you in person.
It's a pleasure to meet you guys. This is exciting.
All right, we'll keep that pace going here. 248-539-9797 if you're buying or selling real estate. Definitely want to give us a call here. 1 hour of the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Show. Mike's in the office with a whole staff this afternoon. If you need a strong approval letter, be sure to call us at Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Sonny, I said it was a week full of Sonnies. We had the Sonny Leone wins the Kentucky Derby. The sun has been shining. Sonny Harvin. This morning on HDTV, they were negotiating a $6.4 million house. To me, it was the same as if it was a $300,000 house here in the Tri-County area, Sonny. Real estate generally is the same, getting that sound buyer, the buyers and sellers to close in a timely manner.
Yeah, the deal. I mean, the deal's the deal. It's pretty much the same process.
It's the same Sonny, the deal is the deal. The fundamentals are the same. It doesn't matter how many zeros are in a transaction, right?
Whether it's 100,000 or a million.
Yeah, the
same
fundamentals are always the same. You still need what you need, right? You still need to get what you need to get. You still need the contract signed, all the addendums signed, all the disclosures signed. We still need what we need from the borrower. All the same stuff. It doesn't really matter because the deal's the deal.
The deal's the deal. Sonny, it doesn't matter even if it's, $300,000 you lose. If you're a millionaire, I guess $3 million is the same thing to you if $300,000. They had some contingencies, a financial contingency, of course, for a mortgage. Another contingency, the old home inspection contingency. But what they did was, this is a lot of money. They did move it up. They said, hey, wait a minute here. On the appraisal contingency, let's make it so that we have it at least in 20 days. I think it was 21 days. And so there's things that we can negotiate that, again, people need to know. Additional comments on a purchase agreement, you could put all sorts of language in there and really make sure that things are all addressed up front.
Yeah, the thing that I was told is everything's negotiable in real estate. Everything's negotiable. It just has to be down on paper. Everybody has to have a clear understanding of what the agreement is, but everything's negotiable.
Absolutely.
Least we see that a lot on escalation clauses. Again, sometimes the language is left out. This is something that really took off, I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, as that shortage of inventory was creeping up on us.
Yeah. About
5 years ago, everyone realized that interest rates were at all-time lows. Of course, the pandemic sprung on a whole new group of buyers, and everyone said, wait a minute, I don't want to be left out of this. But the language in these purchase agreements, including escalation clauses, we still see the language there, and it needs to be very tight.
Yeah, the language needs to be tight. Sometimes they're left to interpretation, and that can cause a whole lot of problems. No offense to the realtors out there, but it has to be very clear. You cannot have a misinterpretation, and that sometimes happens. We get these clauses, and And it might be that there's a guarantee or an escalation clause, but the way that it's written, it could be interpreted more than one way. That's a huge problem because if it's contract law, right? And it's always going to go to the seller. It's always going to be, if we can't make understanding of it, how do we negotiate this deal? So having clear-cut language, especially when it comes to escalation, is extremely important.
Yeah, not an attorney, we don't play attorneys on the radio. However, the language has to be in plain and simple language so people can understand it. It always comes back on who drew that contract up. But Sonny, I want to get into it with you right now. Let's get right into the weeds right now. Real life going on right now, real life examples. Is it still crazy out there? Still multiple offers, still cash offers, still waiving crazy things like inspections, which we never recommend. What are you seeing out there right now? Is it still going on? Is the madness continuing?
It's really settling down. It really is. There are still some competitive offers, and with competitive offers, almost always still comes, some craziness, escalation. I don't hear anybody waiving appraisals. I don't hear anybody waiving inspections. Like, that's not happening anymore.
Love it.
And really, even the appraisal guarantees are not, crazy. Like, I see people waiving it up to a certain amount, like not 20,000, not 30,000, not whatever the gap is. They may put another 5,000 on it, maybe 10,000, but it's not the crazy 30,000 stuff we were seeing.
Or 40 or 50, like we were getting purchase agreements for $50,000 appraisal guarantee on a house that's $250,000. I was like, holy moly. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not that it's not happening, but I think it's becoming more reasonable.
Yes.
So just in one person's opinion, Sonny Harvin's opinion, throughout the remainder of the spring, going into summer and fall, are you seeing things going to settle down? Are you going to see home prices start to settle down? What do you think?
I think home prices are going to be more realistic. I think, everybody says, this is a crash. I don't see a crash at all whatsoever. I do see a normalization. I do see us going back to a normal seller's market. I think we were in a hyper seller's market where it was just people were, doing all holds barred to just
scared crazy
to get in.
Yeah.
Scared crazy. They do crazy things because they're scared.
We did a deal where there was, I think, $30,000 or $40,000.
Yeah, we sure did.
Appraisal guarantee.
I think it was $40,000.
It was $40,000.
It was crazy.
Yeah. And that's just
bananas. I was like, it was bananas.
Yeah.
It worked out, but it was bananas.
Yeah.
So then the next question people are going to ask, if that's the case, Sonny Harvin, do you think we should wait? Should we wait to buy a house?
No, I actually think now is a good time to buy a house, especially if you have a house to sell. Like, I think we've reached that place that it makes sense to sell because prices are still high enough for you to get some good value for your house. But you might actually be able to find somewhere to go on top of that.
Right.
So. Well, Sonny just checked all the boxes, okay? Yeah. You heard what she said, everybody. Reasonable and rational explanations of everything that's going on out there. There's not going to be a crash. Reason why there won't be a crash, it's supply and demand. There's still a lot of buyers out there looking for houses. Now, the irrational exuberance in the market might settle down. And what are you going to wait for? Why are we waiting? Do we ever hear some guy ask, what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Why are we waiting? If you have a house, if you're looking to sell a house, sell your house. If you're going to buy a house and you can find a house, buy the house.
And I think people are more reasonable to, I've been seeing a lot of like addendums where they have a 60-day period to find a house. You know what I mean? Like we have all these different contingencies that we can put in place. So yeah, that process then for you to buy your home, start to finish might take 3 or 4 months only because you're allowing the person that you're buying the home from 60 days to look for a property so they can get under contract really before moving forward. So there's a lot of ways to deal with it, and that makes everybody happy. You're getting the right house. You're being able to use proceeds, because that's what everyone else wants. I've got a little bit of money, but I really want this big chunk of money I'm going to get when I sell my house. You know what I mean? To go down on the new one.
Yeah.
And, we can recast the loan, but let's get real, kind of a pain in the butt. And if we don't have to, let's not.
Yeah, the reverse contingency, a complete winner, of course. Yeah, it's a reverse contingency. I got my house sold. Now I'm out there. Not only that, the real estate agents that put those in place, they feel good because now that buyer, they know the clock's ticking. All of a sudden, that next house they look at, is a little bit nicer because they know they have 60 days limited inventory. So you pretty much, if you're out there and you're going to list your house in today's market, you have to have that plan.
Yeah.
Otherwise, at least a plan B, because if you do sell your house, you've got X amount of days to get out of there. Tons to share with you guys here on the Hardcore Mortgage Show in our 23rd year. 248-539-9797. We definitely want to hear from you. Mortgage rates have moved higher into the fastest pace in decades. We haven't seen anything like this probably since, I don't know the year here. It's been over 30 years, a couple different times where this has happened.
Well, if you want the dates, I can give them to you, because, you know, as John Cole likes to refer to me, I'm the old guy.
The old man in the room. Go ahead,
remember,
sir.
in the 1980s, they went up tremendously, and then they went up to 18%, a little over. And then they came down slowly through the 80s, a little history lesson, everybody. And then from 1990 to 1993, they went down. And then 94, 95, 96, they went skyrocketing. Here's the difference. And they also went up in the 2000s, but forget about that. They've never gone up this fast in the last 30 years. That's what it is. From January to now, rates are up almost 3 percentage points. So everybody out there after the break, Harvey's going to take us to the break.
There we go. 248-539-9797. You got to tune to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Come on back and join us. Welcome back to the show, 9:15. What a gorgeous day outside. It's May 14, 2022. You got it to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We're only in our 23rd year, giving you live communications about buying and selling real estate. This is the real deal.
23 years on the air.
On the
over
air, Harry.
30 in the industry.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's all.
Experience
We don't know
does
what we're
count.
doing.
I got that written
But-
here, Harry. So, if you
So
want
we were talking about interest rates, little history lesson. I won't bore anybody to death, but it goes like this. If you think the interest rates are high right now, they're not high. You have to forget about 2020 and 21. Remember, rates went artificially low because we were in a pandemic. So try to spur the economy, incentivize people. So the rates went way too low. Okay, yes, I said it, way too low. So wipe 20 and 21 off the mat in terms of interest rates. Right now, if you get a rate in the fives, and fives historically speaking
Are
is
low.
extremely low. If
So
you
low.
take a
Sixes
look,
are low.
look
Yeah.
at the spectrum on a 50-year table, and you'll see the period of time that we're in right now, extremely low historically speaking. That's it. So you got to change your perspective a little bit. What do you think rates were going to go down to zero?
I think you
Come
said that
on.
many, many times,
God.
but they were not going down to zero.
I did say
Yeah.
that.
Yes,
Yes, I've
many,
been
many
quoted.
times.
All right, hey, we take your calls here again about buying and selling real estate. Sonny, something popped up this week. Got a call from like an old client who's been listening for a while, and a family house came up for sale. They're going to put their house up for sale. It's an older house. Ma lived there, and she had passed away, and now becomes that situation with the family. They're going to sell it. Do they address all these things? They haven't improved the house in so many years. So I referred him to one of the top agents that I was working with and said, look, we'll get some expertise out there. What the house will sell for if you put some money into it, what it would sell for in today's market. Expertise in that really is important when you're going out there and working with a listing, a new listing. They want to maximize what they're going to net from the house.
Yes, absolutely. And I am actually seeing a lot of that, of people finally getting rid of that house because they felt like, oh, we're going to wait till the top. Now people believe this is the top. So I'm doing a lot of estate stuff. 2 out of 3 of my pending deals right now are it's estates, and it's people that have held on at least 2 or 3 years. Like there was one lady, she unfortunately passed away in the first part of the pandemic, and now 3 years later her family is
Right.
selling the house. So there's a lot of that, and we really have to look at what makes sense to do. I looked at a house yesterday in my neighborhood over in Farmington, and it looked like the person was just there yesterday. And I was saying to the other agent who was there, well, they could have at least cleaned it up. Like, I'm not expecting them, you know what I mean? I'm not expecting you to put a bunch of money into the house because the neighborhood is going to carry it, right? But just, clean it up. Straighten it up.
Yeah.
A little steam cleaning. It's not going to hurt.
Who has more knowledge, Sonny? Someone who's been doing this a few times. You 5, 10, 15, 20 years, or someone who just, you click a button, you get a stranger calling you from Zillow. I mean, who's going to be better?
Exactly.
I'm asking you.
I hear where Harvey's
I
going
told
with
Harry.
this.
I'll behave myself, Harry.
Okay.
Sonny, come on. The expertise matters.
It absolutely does. And I have a listing right now, and I told the lady, oh, I wish you would have called me before you painted that room blue and that room yellow. I mean, the beautiful colors, no one likes it.
No.
You know what I mean? It's very taste specific. And so it's really important not only to get that expertise, but as soon as you start thinking about selling a house, it's good to call a realtor to just, before you put into it what you think might work, talk
Get a
to
punch
someone
list from somebody who knows what they're doing.
who's out here in the field working with buyers every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, one of the things actually the agent I referred to, immediately she says to me, hey, Harvey, that city requires city certs.
Yep.
So let's get the city out there. And again, expertise does make a difference. 248-539-9797. Want to hear from you up till 10 o'clock. We got sports all day long, Tiger baseball this afternoon. Of course, home prices have been surging over the last few years. They've been surging for the last 5 or 6 years. And the investors were involved in this, Harry. 25% of them were the buyers out there, and they were really driving the prices up because a lot of our first-time home buyers, they were trying to get in. They were getting outbid with these cash buyers.
So there's certain sections of our area, Metropolitan Detroit, that a lot of investors went in and they bought up these houses. Because we're seeing on the flip side, okay? A flip is they bought the house at a low price, they put a little bit of money in, and now they're getting an exorbitant price for it. I've seen it. We've seen it. We know that those houses are not going to price out, because if they bought a house in January of 2022 and they put 30, 40, 50,000 into it, now they're going to try to sell it for $100,000, $150,000 profit. There is no way that house is going to price out at what their list price is. Now, it doesn't mean it won't come in 20, 30 under. They're still going to recoup the cost. But if you're a buyer and you want to move in to that house that's completely done, like you said, to your taste level, right? And you just want to move in, you're going to pay that premium. House might not have priced, so you're going to have to come in with the difference. Right? Nothing wrong with that if that's what you're looking for and that's your lifestyle move. I've got no problem with that, but recognize that investors came in, they bought up some houses, they're looking to make money because that's what you do, right? Anytime you sell a house, you're not looking to lose money,
Right.
looking to make money. But we have to understand and go through the dynamics of the transaction specific. But Harvey, you're absolutely right. Investors, a lot of transactions. And you know what? We're seeing those houses, they're being sold on the market.
Yeah, they're going back on the market and they're being sold quick, Sonny. These houses are in moving condition. And, if you don't know better, you've got to have that expert real estate agent. And that's where I was going with the conversation this morning is it's important who your teammates are when you're buying a house.
Well,
Again,
even more so with flips, and this is something else Sonny and I went through. So Sonny and I, we had a conversation, and we get this purchase agreement. We're all excited, gung-ho, everybody's moving forward, and there was a change in title. Somebody transferred title. They somehow knew each other. I forget what the exact...
I think it's someone passed away and it was
Right.
a brother or
And they
sister.
so here we go. We have an FHA purchase agreement.
Uh-oh.
So it had happened so recently that it wasn't even anything like when I searched, because I always do like a BSNA search. Which is
Came
like
at
a
the
public-
end.
Yep, came right at the end. So this, I think it was like 2 weeks prior. So I didn't even catch it when I did my own because it said it had been bought like, 6 years ago. All of a sudden, FHA is like, it's a flip. So the reason
just a
you
little
work
bit
with-
more requirements.
Yep.
Let's go with that.
So-
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
so
the
there's a
FHA
flip.
offer, right?
Absolutely not, except you have to wait until the 91st day to move forward.
Right.
So if somebody is wants to buy a home that was recently owned by an investor within the past 90 days, say they had bought it 30 days ago and turned it around, you cannot purchase that home with an FHA loan.
Yeah. We call
You
it
ha-
FHA flip rule.
You have the anti-flip or the anti-flipping rule. So in this case, that's what was going on. It was a title transfer, ownership transfer. In this case, it wasn't even a flip. They hadn't done anything to the property. It was but we had to wait until the 91st day. So it was great because I explained everything to the listing agent. And he was like, oh my gosh, you're right.
Right.
And everybody just sat and,
Yeah,
Set
because I
up-
don't think they thought of it
They-
because
nobody
they
thought-
didn't
Right.
actually do things to it to
right,
make
right. So it was just kind of, but these are the things that with working with an expert helps you. So if you're trying to buy a house that has been completely remodeled and you have an FHA loan, you need to understand that has to have been under the same ownership for at least 90 days before you can purchase it, meaning the seller has to own it for at least 90 days before you can purchase it.
So we had to go back and do all the offer again, everything
Yep.
like it happened the 91st day.
Yeah. But these are the things that experts will help you with. Because what we don't want is someone going out there and wasting their time, and you're making offers on a house that maybe has only been owned for 30 days. You get all excited, you put down your earnest money deposit, you pay for an inspection and realize you can't do anything because they've put it under contract and they've been inside that 90-day
I was going to
limit.
say, I had a slow week. I only had 2 of those weird calls this week that said, "Hey, Harvey, help us!
Right.
I've been in. We're supposed to close in 2 weeks, and we can. We found out we can't do the mortgage.
Right.
Yeah, I won't throw that mortgage company under the bus, Harry.
Please.
I don't want you to take the phone calls all week, or the other company that promised something. Anyways, deal with the experts. Call Capital Mortgage Funding. Thanks for the segue. 1-800-LOW-RATE. Deal with over 30 years of experience. Again, all of our staff. We take the file, we run it through, and then we gather your documents. And there's no surprise party. Surprise parties are cool when you're 50, maybe even cool when you're 60, but not when you're trying to buy a house. Again, 248-539-9797. We'll take some calls here. Self-employed people, I want to throw it out there again as a reminder because we just passed, Harry, the April 18th deadline for filing your 2021 tax returns.
Yeah.
Folks, if you want to buy a house and you're self-employed, we can make that happen, but you got to have those tax returns done.
You got to have the tax returns done. You file the extension. We need the documentation on the extension, right? And we also need your 2020 complete 1040 and a year-to-date profit and loss through at least the first quarter of 2022. So yes, if you're on extension, fine. Get us the extension. Get us a copy of a profit and loss statement for at least the first quarter of 2022 and your 2020 tax returns.
I'm going to add to that. If you filed an extension and your extension shows you owe $10,000, guess
better
what?
pay
You
it.
got to pay that $10,000
Better pay it.
Yep.
now, not in November because it is still due. That April 18th it was this year, I think.
Yeah, you gotta have proof
it is
of that.
Still due. So you tell me you filed an extension does not mean that
Doesn't
tax
get you
that
off the
was
hook,
due-
does it, Lisa?
Correct. No, it does
Doesn't
not.
get you off the hook.
So yes, that means file the extension, and if you don't owe money, congratulations, you're good. But if you do, it has to be paid. It should have actually already been paid.
Of course, we're a consumer advocate show. And we also help our local real
Yeah.
estate agent and lender friends out there. Of course, more information. If you're looking to buy a house, deal with the experts, Capital Mortgage Funding. Why? A couple other things. We're experts in some other things. Marijuana dispensaries here in Michigan. They're legal across the United States. Call us. We're the experts. If you work at one of these establishments, you can get a mortgage. Give the pros a call. Stop getting hung up with you're going to get an FHA loan. That's not happening on that if you work there. Also, the self-employed people and anything a little bit out of the box. Call Capital Mortgage Funding. Self-employed families, yeah, you can get a mortgage. Do you know that 7 to 8% of the families out there are self-employed? Of course. I thought it was a lot more than that. When we come back, I'll tell you what, we'll take your calls here. 248-539-9797. Some Tiger baseball coming up this afternoon and a whole lot more. Keep it here. Alrighty, welcome back to the show. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, Equal Housing Lender. Yep, you can catch us. And Mike, he's there at the office. I know he texted me and said, Harvey, we're here to take your calls. Let's get some folks approved and approved the right way. Approved the right way means that you're ready to close in 30 days. You submitted your documents to a lender. They've done a full application. They've communicated with your agent, and those lines of communication are open. And that's how a real smooth deal happens, Sonny. Boy, if they don't happen like that and you're willy-nilly out there not approved, clicking buttons, and you find that house you love, you might not be prepared and ready to go.
I really want to make like a TikTok about that.
Yeah.
Because I get people calling me all the time. Well, I want to see it first before I get pre-approved, or I'm not even sure I want to buy. Well, then call me back when you want to buy.
Yeah, why are you calling? Yeah.
Right.
I think people have this idea like don't want to quote unquote waste their time getting pre-approved. What they don't understand is if they walk into that house and they love it and they said, "Oh my gosh, I want this house," then they have to call a lender. Let's hope. I'm going to guess they're probably seeing it on a Saturday. Now, I work on Saturdays, and there are lenders that do, but not everybody does.
Yep.
So you're going to try to find a lender on the weekend. Then you have to get all your documents together. And I'm a hyper-organized person because I have a little bit OCD, but most people are not.
Right.
Most people are going to say, wait a second, I got to get tax returns from 2 years, and I don't know how to find that W-2, and I can't. And so now they're hustling to try to get their documents together. Then they got to send it to the lender. That doesn't mean the lender instantly gives you an approval.
Right.
The lender actually has to review the documentation, enter it into a system, and sometimes we have to get verifications. So
And guess what? Highest and best due tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Right.
Exactly.
So then this is why most agents worth their salt is saying you need to be pre-approved prior to me even showing you the house.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You're going to go there, fall in love with it, and you're going to miss out anyway because you waited too long.
Yeah, and they're telling me, well, I know you don't want to waste your time. This is what I do.
Right.
It's not wasting my time. If I'm not showing you a house, I'm going to be showing somebody else a
And
house.
there's people you show 20, 30, 40, 50 houses. Right?
Doesn't
It is-
bother me.
right.
But for you to miss the house that you wanted because you weren't pre-approved ahead of time, this market is still moving fast.
Right.
I mean, it's still moving fast. And so if you're not pre-approved, you're pretty much putting yourself in a position to fall in love with a house and not get it.
You're putting yourself in a position to be disappointed.
Yes.
Sonny, in the past, I was able to give a looser pre-approval, but not in today's competitive marketplace because the listing
those
agents are
pre-quals.
calling me. Yeah, I called them pre-approvals back then, Lisa, but they were more of a pre-qual because they were pre-approved. And a lot of W-2 buyers out there, look, I can run a credit report, and if you've got the great credit and you send me a bank statement showing you've got the funds to close, you've got a job where you're W-2'd employed, I don't have any questions. If I can get past the 5 or 6, Lisa, as we know, we're experts, we can get past the 5 or 6 qualifying questions. We feel confident.
Yeah.
Then we can reach out, but it's still at today's market, we're taking it a step further. We want your documents. That way we truly are being honest with everyone involved in the transaction. Hey, there's a seller out there. They need to be comfortable. As we talked about earlier, it's contingent upon them. They're out there now aggressively looking at homes, and it can't be a whole bunch of dominoes that don't fall the right way.
Exactly. And I when I'm listing, that's my first question. Has this person been to desktop underwriting?
Yeah.
Do you have their docs? Telling me you're pre-approved means nothing to me
Correct.
if I'm listing.
Because a pre-qual, people will pull credit and they have a conversation. And sometimes they'll, if we're lucky, you get a pay stub. But usually it's a credit report and a conversation. And people will sit there. A guy the other day, I make $220,000 a year. And he says, my W-2 says this amount. Except what he doesn't tell you is when you get the pay stub, $70,000 of it was a bonus.
Right.
And I said, did you get the bonus the year before? No, he did not. Well, that just completely changed your income because you usually have to have a bonus for 2 years in order to utilize it.
Right.
So that $70,000 is gone. That means you actually make $150 a year
Right.
base income. That's what we get to qualify you on.
Right.
Unless we get an exception from underwriting. These, even though your W-2 said 220. So these are those small kind of caveats, those little differences that, why you get a full pre-approval, why you take a couple of minutes to get the documentation to your lender. You know what I mean? And make sure that you can close what you started.
Can you say something about overtime? Just like the bonus, because
Yeah. I mean, overtime for sure. We have the same situation. Commission, overtime, bonuses, you have to have a history. So if you are in an industry where you are now getting overtime and you may have been working a ton of overtime this whole past 6 months or even a year, you usually, depending on the loan type, but FHA, you have to have a 2-year history of overtime. If you remember that COVID just happened, a lot of companies cut overtime.
Yep.
That's right.
So I'm not saying that there's no companies that are giving it, but that is a very difficult approval if you have to have the overtime in order to qualify.
Right.
There are other components too, and they go on and on and on. And then because of the pandemic, we have people working, families out there working remotely. And now we need to see that you can work remotely if your company is out of state and you just moved to Michigan. As long as you're okay with that, get it in writing. You can close.
Your company just sends you a little letter.
I don't want to say the word expertise again, but I'm going to throw it out there. Hey, how about this though? The components of, and at least I love going back and forth, the bannering out there, because this is truly what mortgages and purchases. When I run into a young couple, or even a second time around or third time around, they want to know this. They want to have that knowledge and confidence moving forward. The components of home ownership. So I ask this question, I ask a general question. I'm like, how much money are you working with? And those families usually respond to me with, Harvey, I've got 20,000, and they use the word down, or I've got 30,000 and down. And I'm like, okay, so then we get into the components of home ownership. Lisa, you got all the other variables.
I said, so $20,000 down is then how much more do you have for your closing costs?
Right.
Or like, oh no, I have $20,000 altogether. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Yep.
And these are the those slight nuances that make all the difference. So if you've got $20,000 total to work with, that might mean that you've got $12,000 or $13,000 down, and $7,000 for closing, setting up your escrow account, paying your homeowner's insurance for a year in advance, paying for your title cost. These are all the things that go into it. So
you threw it out there. I wrote down a few of them: tax prorations, the down payment,
tax prorations,
association fees, the startups,
fees,
startup association
tax
fees.
prorations. Everyone goes, I don't understand what that is. In Michigan, the majority of the cities and counties here, we pay taxes in advance, meaning when you pay your tax bill, you're paying for the year that's coming up, not the year that just went by. So when you buy a house, you have to pay the seller back for the taxes that the seller already prepaid.
Right.
That's called a tax proration. So in Michigan, when you buy a house and you're setting up an escrow account, you are collecting approximately 14 months worth of property tax at closing. You have to pay back the seller for taxes that the seller already paid. You have to set up your own escrow account for the tax bills coming due, and then there's also a 2-month cushion. So these are costs that people don't know.
No.
So if someone's got $3,000 a year in taxes, that's $3,600 in closing right there, just for the taxes and prorations. So this is why you deal with experts.
All right, we take all your calls, 248-539-9797. If you want to join the show again, we had a podcast here earlier in the week and talked about a whole bunch of different things out there. Yes, we threw in there that Costco's not doing mortgages anymore. I didn't even know they were. But, hey, a great place to get that salmon, I guess, and the gas is only about $4.07 a gallon over there. So it's still good for some things. Rates aren't coming down anytime soon. However, that doesn't mean mortgage rates aren't coming down in 2 or 3 or 4 years. There's an election in 2 years. The economy changes. Things go up and down. And that's what I'm sort of reminding families right now. Look, you didn't miss out on something because your baby's due in 4 months and you need a house. So do the right thing for your family. Get approved. Understand, that's one thing I'd like to go back again. When you understand that this mortgage has no prepayment penalty, and if you end up loving it and you're going to stay there, well, we might take a look in 3 or 4 years. Maybe when you're in your 27th year of a 30-year mortgage, you want to drop it down to a 20-year. Harvey, we like the neighborhood. We're not going anywhere. Even if the rates are the same as they are now, maybe it's okay that you could afford that discipline to knock it down to a 20 or a 15-year fixed loan. So again, you don't have to keep the house for a lifetime. You don't have to keep the mortgage for a lifetime. These are things you can change at any given time. Again, deal with experts. I don't want to say it again. I keep saying that word, but there is a huge difference. I'm getting the phone calls, and we know the differences. Pretty soon, we're not going to have to worry about it because all those willy-nilly people that just got in the industry recently, I'm sorry to say, they won't be around. They're just not going to make it. But there's only so much inventory. Let's talk about the inventory a little bit. Sonny, multiple bids, again, multiple agents and multiple buyers. How do you get that offer accepted? Is it communication?
That is the number one thing for me that's helped me. As soon as my client, like in front of the house, as soon as they say they have interest, I call the other agent and try to see, what motivates the seller. What is the seller looking for? I try to see who the agent is, like who I'm dealing with, so I know how to approach them. Having that relationship is huge. I had an offer accepted. He literally said the other offer is higher, but I have a better feeling that you're going to get it done just from talking to you.
We always hear that.
And the fact that you just, something I find is so important and key is you said, I call to find out what the seller's motivation is. Everyone
I already wrote it.
Yeah.
I wrote that down. That's
so smart because everyone thinks I want to close fast, or I want more money. I have so many people who, hey, I haven't even started looking for a house. Maybe my motivation is I want someone that's going to give me the leniency to go find something first.
Yeah.
I want 60 days to look around before we really get going, and maybe 60 days to close. With Jet means a 4-month closing, and that's okay.
Yeah, I have a lady right now. She can't do an appraisal guarantee. She can do as high as her, her approval says, but she's giving people 60 plus days.
And sometimes that's better.
Yes.
And that's what motivation.
That's what they need. They need time to move out. She's literally looking online and seeing if the houses are occupied. And she kind of targets those because she's thinking, hey, this is what I have to give.
Right. That's smart.
I knew we were going to get into it a little bit deeper here. Again, another 20 minutes or so of the Hardcore Mortgage Show. Keep it here, 248-539-9797. When we come back, got Becky Alley with her expertise and a whole lot more. All righty, welcome back to the show. Hey, welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. I'm Harvey Freed. She's Lisa Lawson.
I sure am.
The glossary of all mortgages. Lisa, this is like a great opportunity for families to really listen in. I come to your office weekly, daily, and we talk about mortgages and real estate. We're energetic, excited to help families, and it's a whole different experience. And on the line with us, someone who shares the same energy, Becky Alley, top 1% of all real mortgage originators. Hey, Becky.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
I'm already bragging about you. Good morning, Beck. Hey, what do you got going on?
Well, right now, I just pulled up at a softball field. My daughter's got a tournament, so that's why I couldn't be in the studio. But you guys are holding down the fort, and I love the knowledge that you guys are kicking out today for sure.
Thanks, Becky. Of course, you deal with a lot of great agents down there, and we've had them all on the show recently. Becky, give us a little vibe. I mean, we know the inventory is really light out there, but I am starting to get some clients. Some of the purchase agreements are starting to come through.
For sure. You're also starting to see a little bit of these. I've seen a couple like price reductions on homes, right? Because, right now sellers are trying to get the top dollar, and that's fine and dandy. But the affordability right now for some of these buyers is getting really tight. But renting isn't an option either. So sometimes the sellers are trying to drive the bus, and they're not listening to these real estate agents because they're trying to get more and more money. But at the same time, like Harry was talking about earlier in the show, if the house isn't going to appraise, what does it matter if you're going to put it up for $250? Because right now there's, some people just don't have that $50,000 that they have to throw on top of these purchase prices right now.
Boy, Sonny, she hit it on the nose, man. Rent's through the roof, right? It's just, we know families that bought these homes, in the last 5 or 10 years, and individuals that wanted to own 1 or 2 properties. And of course, not only to mention the groups of real estate investors out there that own, gamuts, they own blocks and stuff, and they are not lighting up on the rent at all. We've seen rents going up between 10 and 20% just over the last 12 for 24 months.
Yeah, and that's the conversation I have with people when they say, oh, the market's too high and rent's not high.
Right.
And
going higher.
It's going higher and you're getting zero equity. Pay yourself.
Right.
Pay yourself.
For sure. Like I actually had a client call me and, we're talking about, what can you afford? Okay, $20,000. Does that mean that's $20,000 total out of pocket? Like Lisa was pointing out, right? All these things are important. And they said, you know what, Becky, I'm really nervous. I'm nervous about, this really competitive market. And I said, well, you know what makes me even more nervous? You paying $2,500 for someone else's mortgage.
Absolutely.
You paying $2,500 for someone else's rent. That makes me more nervous for you than it would be for you to invest into yourself and your family.
And guess what? How many of these landlords all of a sudden realize that they have so much equity they're selling? I have had so many phone calls saying, I have to move. I've got 2 months. I just got my notice. I was hoping to renew my lease, but the person that we're renting from wants to sell because it's a huge opportunity for landlords right now to make a ton of money. And so they have to move. And they're like, we're not really prepared. We didn't save. You know what I mean? What can I do? We help them through all that. We show them where funds can come from, whether it's down payment assistance, getting loans from your 401k, getting a gift from family members. There's other ways to go about it, but we help them through all of that because they are now going to become unexpected home buyers.
Yeah, they got to hurry.
Because their landlords are selling. So,
and I'm getting a lot of that.
Yeah,
there
I am
are a
too.
lot of landlords getting out of the business,
Because
retiring. The baby boomers they're done with the 14, 15 houses that they owned, and people have to get out in very short order.
Yeah, and not to mention they can get top dollar for their house, so why wouldn't they right now?
Right.
Makes complete and total sense if you're a landlord,
Becky, you want to wrap us up on your end?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like all we know is that when we're doing the home ownership and you're calling in with your questions, you don't know what you don't know, right? And all that starts with a conversation. So you don't have to be nervous. We will hold your hand through the process. There's MSHA programs. There's 401ks. People, like I had a client, first-time home buyer, he didn't know that he could withdraw from his 401k. He was freaking out thinking he wasn't going to have enough funds because like you guys were just talking about, it was an unexpected, my rent went up, I can't afford this, I need to invest in myself. And I was like, pull it from your 401k. He's like, I had no idea. So it all starts with a conversation, and we're here to handhold you from start to finish. And that's what we do for a living. That's all we do. We're not a bank. We're mortgage lenders.
There you go. We're professionals at that. That's for sure. 248-539-9797. Time for a few more phone calls here. Good stuff, Becky, as always. We're already in an environment out there, and I felt it really over the last 10 or 15 years where I felt like they were sort of trying to dummy down everyone. When I got in the industry, it's been over 30 years now, I had to learn. And I took that knowledge and then I started sharing it with people. And then constantly we're learning. In fact, next week, it sort of gives me an opportunity to talk about next week. We have a lady calling in who actually the company's Genworth, the PMI company. Now, a lot of families out there have PMI, private mortgage insurance. So they put down less than 20% down on these conventional loans. So this part of their payment is this PMI. Well, how to get rid of that PMI without having to refinance the house. More information coming next Saturday. Keep it here on the Hardcore Mortgage Show, always for the up-to-date information on mortgages and real estate. Of course, we have these great real estate agents, Sonny Harvin. She's in from Keller Williams. I know you're out at the Northwestern Highway office, but you handle all Southeast Michigan. Again, if you want great real estate representation, call us here on the show. We'll get you set up with Sonny Harvin and all the great agents we have here on 97.1 The Ticket. And Lisa, I want to dive into the dumbing down of that a little bit. Again, Lisa, maybe that's not that fair part of things. And getting that family to say what Sonny was saying, look, I'm going to show someone else a house. We're never too busy to get you prepared for the biggest thing you're ever going to purchase in your life.
Right. We're never too busy. Absolutely correct. So when you call, obviously, we're going to answer and we're going to help you. But we're going to need information from you. So if you want this done quickly, you have to be responding to us quickly as well. Meaning if we need documents, we're all busy. We get it. But if you want to make an offer on a house, you need to get that stuff to us extremely quickly so we can review it, get everything verified, and get it done. The whole point here is we all have the same end game, right? We all have the goal to get you into the house of your dreams or the house that you want, usually for the best interest rate possible. And for the most of the time, most people want the least amount of money and cost possible. That's all of the goal. And we're all on the same team. So,
Yeah, I even try to tell people as soon as they call me, before I refer them to you, well, she's going to need this, she's going to need this, she's going to need this. So they have it in hand when they come talk to you, so you can have a really good educated conversation.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to throw a few programs out there as we always do. Of course, you can purchase house zero down. We have USDA loans available all over Michigan and all over the country. We handle mortgages in every state. Call us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker for sure. But there's other things that I wanted to get into is the VA restoring. So if you're a veteran, yes, you can use your VA eligibility. Again, I want to throw it out there again. If you already bought a house and used your zero down VA eligibility, we can restore your eligibility. Not everybody, so definitely get in touch with us sooner than later. Most of the families out there, most of the individuals out there, thank you for serving our country. Yes, you can use your VA eligibility the second time around. Now, that VA funding fee lease, 3.6% second time around. If you were disabled and disabled veterans do not have to pay that. Definitely call Capital Mortgage Funding for all that great information. So throw a few things out there. Also, we got the PMI thing. Weather and sports, and then, of course, what a gorgeous day to go out there. This is the type of weather I want to go and look for a house.
Yeah, this is perfect weather. Although I actually like it when it rains.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed the rain, and I think it's a great time to look for a house because you can see leaks, you can see how the foundation is. Is there water going to the foundation or away from it? So I actually, if I was buying a house, would prefer it to be raining. But I mean, nobody really wants to walk around in the rain. This is like you couldn't order better weather than this. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that rain though it's a point. I had a family. They already had the offer in on the home, and we went. We've had all this rain. A couple months ago, and there was water in the basement. There was no evidence of it prior to them going to see it in the rain. So.
Right.
We talked about it last show, actually, and I don't know if I brought it up earlier. The homes in Michigan, I'm sorry to say, we've been around a while here. Michigan's been a state here for a long time. 4.6 million homes here are over 50 years old. You go ahead and do the pass-fail on the inspection, but at least you know what you're getting into. Again, money can fix a lot of things. Money can fix almost everything in a house, but if you're getting in for a little down and you find out you got a foundation issue, that's going to be a huge problem. If you have a house that's a lemon because you did it wrong, you have to disclose that information moving forward, by the way. And if you made an offer on a house, and if you're a real estate agent and that inspection failed because something catastrophic is bad, like toxic mold, you have to disclose that information out there. That way no one comes back and wants to sue you.
You have to update those disclosures that you had your sellers fill out when you listed the house.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that gets missed because people, they don't fill that out every time they get an offer. It's filled out at the time the home is listed, right? And then the agent holds on to it. Well, so if something is found out in a previous inspection, I would think due diligence, you go back and update those disclosures. But I do know that sometimes that gets forgotten.
Yeah, I think it gets forgotten very often.
Right.
And I've even had agents say to me, I don't want the whole inspection. Just, send me the part that you guys have a concern with because they don't want to know. Right. Because once they know, they have to disclose,
it.
Okay.
Correct.
You mean they don't want to know if they just painted the attic with kills?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, guys, I also want to throw out there is because I was talking about programs, Fannie and Freddie programs, the 97. Again, 3% down conventional loans. MSHDA loans that we offer are fantastic. We're doing those MSHDA loans, Becky. We're closing them in less than 40 days on occasion. Again, there's a huge difference between dealing with a lender who's done this a whole bunch of times and getting them done in a timely fashion. If you're a seller out there, we talked about it earlier, not always is that motivation is the highest offer. It's, maybe I need a few extra days here to stay in the house, whether it's 30, 60 days of free occupancy or just not having that gun in my head that if I sell the house, still give me 30 or 60 days to go find another one.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's all about motivation and communication. And I think if you're communicating that, I have a seller who needs time to move and pack or needs time to find a house or needs, time for occupancy, that's great. And you can find the right fit. Not everybody's looking to be there and in the house in, 14, 21 days of closing. Some people that's not feasible. They don't even have a house that they like to buy yet. You know what I mean? They can't find one. So I think being open and having everybody on the same page and communicating properly is all the difference in the world.
Yeah, we pretty much it's almost standard at this point, 30 days free occupancy.
Right.
And it's a win-win. They don't have to, you're giving that person extra time to get out and you don't have to pay your mortgage that month.
Correct.
So why not just
Right.
throw that in? And then there's, a bunch of little things you can throw in. I just won a multiple offer situation because we paid the transfer tax and we paid, some of their fees because those aren't things that they have to give the agent a cut of.
Correct.
So they feel like, instead of giving me $3,000 cash, give me
some days of occupancy.
Right.
yes.
Give me some time to pack
I'd
up
rather
my
do that than
bags.
pay 50,000 over.
Hey, Becky, that was it. Thanks for hanging on there with us. Becky, enjoy your day out there. That's Becky Alley, top 1% of all originators. She's Lisa Lawson, the glossary of mortgages.
Thank you.
That lady
Much
across
better
from me.
than Google.
How about Sonny Harvin here? Thanks, Sonny. Always fantastic stuff. Keller Williams, Sonny Harvin. Get in touch with us. We'll get you in touch with her. Easy enough. Deal with some honesty out there. Hey, okay, folks, the market conditions could remain the same. You better, inflation's not going anywhere, that's for sure. You better get the pros involved. Call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. I'm Harvey Freed. We got Pat Caputo coming up with sports next. Keep it here.